Welcome peeps, Geo Gaming here. Today I would like to talk about my best build, or I guess one of my favorite all-time builds, the throwing weapon build. This is one of the most powerful builds I've ever used in the game of Cyberpunk, and today I'm going to show you how you can get this exact build or get pretty close to it if you are at a lower level. Let's get to it. So this build is primarily a cool centric build. You want to get cool to 20 as soon as you can. I am not a level 60 yet, but I was able to get to level 20 about halfway through this playthrough. So we have it at level 20 here. Obviously all the right perks here are all throwing weapon based. Better recovery time. You can unlock some finishers. Apply sting or apply the sting, which is the poison. Poison over time. And yeah, just really helpful in general. Obviously these middle ones for sneaking around, not getting caught. The Vanishing Act perk is very useful itself when you have optical camo, especially when you have that relic perk as well. It just enhances the optical camo itself. So level 20 on the cool tree is pretty essential. The next essential one I would say is the reflexes. I do not have this one at level 20 yet. I'm kind of stuck in between whether I want to get level 20 on this one or level 20 on technical ability. But right now we have it at 15. 15 is completely fine unless you want this perk here, which pretty much just negates all stamina usage when you're dashing. Obviously, get all the dash perks, being able to move around the city, being able to move around when you're in the battlegrounds so enemies don't hit you as often. Really useful itself. Next, we have the technical ability tree. Really prioritize these middle ones more than anything. These are just cyberware stat modifiers, enhancing the cyberware that you're going to be using, reducing cooldown, reducing incoming damage, all that good stuff. These left ones, just to regain those health buffs or just regaining your health items in order so you can keep getting your health back if you're getting hit too often. You can keep using up those health boosters. And last but not least, we got the body attribute one. I do have this one to level 20 because I really love this pain to gain level 20 perk here. Just getting some extra health there or some extra recharge to my item. But obviously with this one you want to unlock all the health regen perks. This one just gives you more health and also unlocks the adrenaline boost, just making it so you get a little bit more health whenever you do use your health items. I would highly recommend this one as well, just getting extra damage and more movement. And this one as well just removes any penalty such as getting knocked down by someone. You know, it's really, you probably won't notice it as much when you're in Sandevistan time, which I'll get to in a sec, but it is pretty useful nonetheless. And intelligence, we are leaving that one alone. You do not have to spec into that one. Unless of course you want to be like a net runner with throwing weapons, you can definitely do that, but for this one we are not doing that. Now, onto the cyberware itself. Obviously, the centerpiece is going to be the Militech Sandevistans, whether it be the Falcon or the Apogee, it does not really matter. I personally like the Falcon a little bit more just because it does last a little bit longer. You're able to take down enemies pretty much the entire time that the Sandevistan is active. This one, the Apogee did get nerfed a little bit. They reduced the time that it can be active, so you're pretty much forced to be deactivating it and activating it pretty often. The Falcon kind of negates that a little bit. You're able to take out enemies pretty much in one go. So I'm a huge fan of this one. Next, we got the Axolotl. This one you can get for free after completing all of Regina's gigs. There's about 23 of them up in Watson. It is kind of a grind, but once you do that, you do get this one for free. I would definitely recommend this one. It just reduces the cooldown of the Sandevistan every time you kill somebody. I do recommend self-ice as well. You do not need it, but it's pretty useful against netrunners who are trying to hack you. Gorilla Arms. You don't need Gorilla Arms. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend having Gorilla Arms to begin with. But gorilla arms are they're super helpful to have just for those body checks, just that you experience throughout the game itself. The cockatrice optics is the best optics to use for this one, increasing crit damage. So the most important thing with some of these throwing weapons is that whenever you do land a critical hit, you are able to retrieve your weapon right away. So the higher chance you have of getting those critical hits, the more you can keep throwing weapons. Obviously in the skeleton, I like titanium bones just for extra carrying capacity, but if you don't collect that much, then you don't need this one. I'm a huge fan of Universal Booster, getting that extra armor and less stamina cost whenever you activate one of your health boosters. And then Parabellum, either Parabellum or the Epimorphic Skeleton would work here just for extra armor, be a little bit more tanky. In Sand Devastation time, you shouldn't be getting hit that much, so you don't necessarily have to get this one, all the way to the top. I think about 678, where I have it here, is pretty solid for me, I would say. For the hands, of course, the handle wrap is this the only one that's used for throwing weapons. Again, just increasing that crit chance. We also have the stabber here in the nervous system. Again, just more crit chance. I'd like to use this one, the atomic sensors. It's pretty much just like an adrenaline booster, but before you get into combat, helping you move around a little bit faster, kind of, check out enemies, check out the enemy base, see what you're looking at, and then kind of, making decisions as you go before you decide to enter combat. Obviously, for the circulatory system, I do not like manually activating my own health items, so Biomon is a huge essential for me. I'm a huge fan of Blood Pump as well. I just feel like it heals better. Heal on kill. This one, I like to use it, but again, in Sandy time, you're probably not going to be needing this one as much because you shouldn't be getting hit. But in the moments where you have to turn it off and you start getting hit a little bit, then this one is pretty useful. Of course, optical camo, being able to go invisible, so you don't have to. So whenever you have to exit combat or you want to go into a base sneakily and take enemies out that way, you can do that. Proxy shield, obviously, with throwing weapons, you want to get to as close of an enemy as possible because the farther you are, the harder it is to line up those throwing weapon throws. So you want to try and get as close as possible. Sometimes even point blank range is usually the way to go with this one. So, and if you get caught, and they hit you, then it won't deal as much damage. And then it's just subdermal ammo, like it says here, armor, simple but effective. And then my personal favorite for legs, obviously reinforced tendons, just being able to move around a lot more. And then last, but of course one of the more important parts of this entire build is the weapons themselves. I am personally a huge fan of the Agao throwing axe. You can get this one up in Dogtown and Luxor Heights after you defeat Iozarin in these suspected organized crime, or just one of those more crime-ridden areas where you have to defeat the Voodoo Boys, and then you get this axe. This is one of the best. It pretty much just deals electrical damage or emits like an EMP as soon as you hit somebody. Going back to like those crits, you want to try and get those crits in order to get that EMP shock. It pretty much it's a pretty explosive device, honestly. So I would highly recommend having this one on you at all times. It's probably one of the best throwing weapons in the game. I'm personally a huge fan of this one as well, the Claw X Mod 2. This one you get on top of the pyramid in Dogtown. Obviously, you just got to climb up that entire pyramid, and boom, there it is at the very tippity top of it. It's a pretty good. You don't necessarily need this one. I would highly recommend just maybe using one of the other knives like the Headhunter or even Blue Fang if you got it. Some of those are actually pretty good, but I personally like carrying this one around myself. But again, you can put whatever other weapon you want. And then I would highly recommend using a punk knife. Now the punk knife, it has the fastest recovery time, right? As soon as you throw it, it's pretty much back in your hand, like less than a second later. It's just super helpful to have, whenever you do run out of weapons to throw. The Agao takes the longest to get back. It says here 9 seconds, but, with multiple cooldown factors, it was from the perk tree itself, it does come back a little bit faster than those 9 seconds. Same with this claw, it can sometimes feel like a long time that they're not returning to you, so having punk knives is probably the best way to go. To touch on about the weapons, obviously there are mods that you can add to some of these, such as the claw Xmod 2 and just the regular knives like the punk knife. Um, the Gal, unfortunately, you can't add stuff to it, so you just gotta use that one as is. I would highly recommend Javelin or Zero G. Those are probably the two best mods that you want to use for throwing weapons. The Javelin just increases armor penetration, so you deal more damage to tougher enemies. It does reduce range a little bit, but again, you probably shouldn't be throwing this one from super far away anyways, unless you're just a sharpshooter with throwing weapons. And then Zero G, this is not Zero G, this is Silencio. Zero G is on this punk knife. Of course, Zero G pretty much just negates any drop off that the knife has when you throw it. It's gonna go in a straight line essentially, so it's better when you're throwing it from farther away, but again, I wouldn't recommend throwing it from super far away regardless. Honestly, some of the best mods are pretty hard to find in the game. You just have to try and go to some of the weapon vendors. The ones I would recommend is the one off of the Wind West Estates. Let me actually pull that up real quick. So the one down here in Pacifica, this vendor tends to have pretty good mods and just blueprints for some of the weapons themselves, like the claw and some knives. And then I would also recommend this one down in Jackson Plains. This one also has some pretty good mods, some pretty good blueprints. These are probably the two best ones that I would recommend. But you can definitely try a bunch of other weapon vendors, knife vendors. They might have something there that I haven't seen quite yet. Not to most, a good aim does come naturally, so with throwing weapons, it's important that you aim for the head and don't really go for body shots. Again, aiming for the head just has a higher chance of getting those crit damage, returning your weapon as fast as possible. So let's just demonstrate real quick. Crit shot. Normally, I like to just switch weapons anyways, but you can always just keep throwing the exact same weapon as long as you get those crit shots, just like that. Now, a Gal, obviously the best axe to have in the game. Let's go ahead and do another one. Again, as long as sometimes you will not be able to get those crit damages, so have those weapons available to you. I can't believe I missed that one. And then if you're close enough, obviously just dash to the enemy you just threw the weapon at, and you'll recover it right away. So there's many ways to get the weapons back as soon as possible, but as you can see, extremely powerful, extremely efficient, clears out enemies pretty quickly, and you can grind out the game essentially as fast as possible, and get that XP. Thank you all for watching. If you do have any questions, please leave them down below and let me know what kind of build you want to see next, or what kind is your favorite build. I have a bunch of different builds that I really love using. This is one of my favorite ones. Obviously, a lot of people have seen the Katana Sandevistan build, which is another powerful one. I can always touch on that one if folks would like. There's net runners, there's tech weapons, regular power weapons. There's a lot of stuff we can do here, so let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.